Hey guys, welcome back to Star Wars Timeline. Today I'm reviewing another Star Wars fan film for you. This one is called Exile. It was released in March of 2016. It has over 1 million views on YouTube. I thought I've seen all my major Star Wars fan films. Turns out I was completely wrong. Anyway, in this video, we'll discuss the story in this film, we're talking about the cinematography, the action, and of course I'll give it the final score at the end. This was directed by Pokey Spears and written by Noel Braham. It stars Noel Braham, Georgina Savoye, Pokey Spears, and Perales. Full credits will be listed in the video description below. Let's start with the beginning, right? We have this grand intro. We are on this unknown planet in the forest, and we see, obviously, Quinlan Vos running away. He's being hunted. We see some stormtroopers. We see Boba Fett pop out. Of course, we see Darth Vader. And this very strange new character pops in. As we learn from the credits, he's actually an Inquisitor. And I really enjoyed the fact that he looks very different from what we see in Rebels show. We see another Jedi character with a purple lightsaber accompanying Quinlan Vos. I'm not quite certain who this is. I think it's a fictional character. Anyway, we see a little bit of action going on there. Quinlan Vos performs a couple of flashy moves there. I really enjoyed the sense of impacts there. A couple of moves were really unnecessary when he turns his back to the stormtroopers, but that's okay. It's a very minor nitpick. Overall, I would say the action was pretty strong. But what I really enjoyed about this intro was when this Inquisitor starts torturing the Jedi. First of all, she pierces her with his lightsaber, and then he starts using the Force to twist and torment her body. Something similar to, if you guys are watching the Stranger Things season 4, he's breaking her body or her bones. It looks so grotesque and so cool. I gotta give out the shout out to the cinematographers. I think the techniques they were employing is that, first of all, obviously the actress, she's very plastic. She's perhaps a ballerina or a gymnast. She is very versatile with his body, right? And what she's doing is she's performing, doing all these very crazy moves on the ground, which like very disfigured movements, like you would never see a human body do things like that. And then they reverse the video footage, and that's why it looks so disconcerting and really, really grotesque. I really gotta say that scene got me, man. It was so interesting and so impactful. I really enjoyed it. But then after that sequence, it gets even further, and of course the Inquisitor, he rips out the heart right from that Jedi, which I immediately gave a name to this Inquisitor. He became Quan Chi. Guys, those familiar with Mortal Kombat series, especially the live action sequences that we see in games like Star Wars Mythologies, where a real live actor is performing Quan Chi, that's basically what this Inquisitor looks like. I was like, oh my god, he just performed a fatality. That was a big surprise. And of course, we're done with that sequence, and now the official Star Wars crawl begins. I found it a little bit disorienting. It kind of interrupted the pace of the story, particularly when we realize that what we see here kind of translates into the main picture, into the main plot. This is what happened before, and this Inquisitor is on the hunt. He's now after these two Jedi. So I felt that the crawl really belonged in the beginning of this film. So that's probably one of my bigger gripes about this film. And now the real picture begins. We are introduced to this new desert planet. And I have to say from the beginning, what I enjoyed about it, of course, it's a staple of Star Wars. You gotta have your desert planet, but it looks quite different from Tatooine. The geographical features, the landscape, the panoramic shots that they use, it looks quite distinct from Tatooine. And I enjoyed the fact that the filmmakers specifically chose that site. It has that otherworldly feeling. At times, it even looks like, even though I don't believe we have deserts on Lothal, right? It's mostly savannas. When you see the CGI backdrop in the background, like the city, it kind of reminds you of Lothal, because I guess the intent was they're saying that this planet is located near Lothal. So once again, beautiful cinematography there. The CGI effects are on the money. It feels so highly produced and so well done. It really gives you a convincing sense of this is a real place, and these are two Jedi who are hiding there. And of course, this is where we're introduced to the lead cast. We have the master, Boemana Tora, and her apprentice student, Makal. I enjoyed both of those actors. I enjoyed the intriguing dialogue that they had between one another. It was very interesting how their motivations were set up, where the master, she felt kind of betrayed and disillusioned because apparently the Jedi Order was leading her astray. It didn't follow everything that it preached, it didn't practice. That's why the Jedi Order fell apart, and she really feels angry. And of course, the student being He has a lot of angst as a young man. He doesn't know where he quite belongs in this new imperial order. I really specifically enjoyed the performance by Noel Braham, who portrays Makal Lori. I felt that the lines that they wrote for him and the amount of times he appears on the screen, he delivered the most kind of like energetic performance. Although Georgina Savoye, she was also very good, but it was him that I anchored his. I guess also maybe because I gravitated towards the character more. I was more interested and invested in his plight. Anyway, they have a little exchange, and then once again, an interesting surprise, which I actually enjoyed. The master, is afraid of losing something. And what she's afraid to lose is her apprentice, and they share a romantic kiss, which I kind of enjoy that, right? In any sense of relationships that you have, whether it's a Jedi or not, whether love is forbidden or not, when you have two people interacting with one another, a bond is inevitable. You still have a sense of kinship, you have like similar ideals or morals, and especially in this dire situation where you're both escaping from the Empire, something really brings you together, and it's no big surprise that some kind of romantic feelings blossom there. What I also have to note right away, I loved the character designs for both Master and Apprentice, and also the Inquisitor. With Inquisitor being a little bit on the lower tier, I'll address a couple of minor issues that I had. But overall, the costume designs and the makeup was really on point. What I loved about these Jedi, they sort of reminded me, it looks like the costume makers looked at the previous material that exists in the Star Wars Expanded Universe, specifically the Tales of the Jedi. Because when I look at Makal's outfit, when I look at the Boemana's outfits, they look like these exotic Jedi from an age long by where they were not wearing their traditional robes, but more kind of like people on the periphery, the Jedi who are exploring the galaxy and have to represent the formal, Jedi regalia. So that was really, really interesting to me. They looked really on point, especially Makal. Once again, it's his performance, it's his character design, the way he looks, the way he acts that I enjoyed throughout. And then, of course, the Inquisitor comes. Pokey Spears, the director of the film, Quan Chi, as I call him, right? He lands on the planet, and this is where the real battle begins. He starts fighting with the Master. He very quickly dispatches her. He overpowers her. At times, the choreography felt just a little bit on the slow mode, but I suspect it's because perhaps maybe the actress, she wasn't very well versed in, lightsaber technique, because it's a really hard stuff to do. My suspicion is that she's more coming from an acting school, right? They hired a real actress. They wanted her to get in the role, but maybe she had to step up her game and really learn their lightsaber moves. That's why they had to go at her own pace and slow it down just a little bit. But still, the sense of impact was very good. You still felt like it's an Inquisitor fighting a Jedi. Anyway, he overpowers her, and boom, once again, he pierces her through the chest. And I have to question this little event, because this is in episode 1, and obviously by the end of the episode, she survives. What's going on here? Did he really attack her? Was it some kind of like a trick of an eye of a force? Because what that scene does, it basically forces the apprentice to act. And of course, he gets, first his master, she tells him, no, this is my fight. She's overpowered. And this is where Makal jumps in. He tries to help his dying master. And of course, he has a little exchange with the Inquisitor. And then once again, he has a dialogue with his master. And she tells him, once again, setting up a really interesting premise for episode 2, which we have yet to get. All these years after, I really hope that the director comes back and he says, you know what? I think episode 2 is happening. We have to continue the story. Because what's happening here is she tells him, you have to go to Lothal. Please don't fight this guy. Escape right now. And as soon as Makal escapes and she rises up and the Inquisitor says, rise. Very intriguing, very interesting. Even though the episode ends on a cliffhanger, it gives you a very interesting setup. What's happening here? Is the master, is she already fallen to the dark side and she's basically playing her student? She needs him to go to Lothal because maybe there's a Jedi temple that he's going to go to, right? Maybe there's a Bendu that he's going to meet. Maybe there's something that the Empire and the Inquisitors covet. And the only way to get there is for the Jedi disciple to go and find it. Perhaps he has that secret information that they need. Anyway, it ends up on a note where I kind of snap my fingers. I'm like, oh man, where's episode 2? I really want to see it. So what did I enjoy the most about this film? As a general rule, I find the dialogue and the stories written for fan films to be very on the surface. They're not very impactful, and they're just there serviceable enough to get us into the action. That's the main appeal from most of the Star Wars fan films. In here, I have to say the story really works. I really believed the intrigue. I really enjoyed the romantic relationship between the Master and Apprentice, because we don't see a lot of that, right? We see some Jedi mavericks who go outside of the Order and have relationships like Anakin, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and so forth, but not a love relationship between a Master and Apprentice. That's quite different. I like that a lot. I loved the character outfits. I love the costumes. The only small nitpick that I could give is that the Inquisitor, you could tell his his hair is basically a wig. So that stood out just a little bit. When it comes to the Master, Boemana Tora, I felt like she was a little bit on the beautified side. I mean, she's a gorgeous actress, right? Very beautiful, very capable, but they gave her like these very long eyelashes, some like makeup. I felt that the character would benefit a lot without that additional makeup. I understand they want to have some sex appeal. They want the character to look pretty and enticing. And so, all the audience who watches this said, wow, she's really, really beautiful. I get that. But I think when you're dealing with this kind of like desert, harsh environment, and especially in the kind of scene that you set up where she's dueling an Inquisitor, it's not time to look pretty. Again, it's a very minor nitpick. My biggest gripe about the film was that crawl. It basically interrupts the viewing experience, and I believe that it should be thrown back to the beginning of the film, and that way the overall story registers much clearer, because you have the past, right, with the Quinlan Vos, he does his share of action there, and then something happens to him. We don't know quite know what happens. Is he dead? Is he alive? And now we're transplanted into the present story. So what do I think overall? Love the choreography. I love the cinematography. I like the story. I love the action, even though that I said that sometimes the action felt a little bit of slow. As a general impression, I really like this film, and I would definitely recommend it to any Star Wars fans. I think you guys will have a kick out of it. Please go and watch it. Please support the channel. Let them know in the comment section below that you would love to see part 2 and stuff like that, because I think Pokey Spears and the team that he has assembled, they did a really excellent job. I'm going to give this film a 3 out of 4 stars. It is not perfect. It has a couple of rough spots. It didn't stop me from enjoying this movie a lot, guys. I really loved it, and I really would enjoy seeing the story of this Master and Apprentice continue, and I would really love to see the next battle with the same Inquisitor, who I've labeled Quan Chi. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking out this review. If you like this video, please sub to my channel. That would really help out a lot, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.